Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Women Like Me. I'm Julie Fairhurst. I am the founder of Women Like Me, and I'm also the story coach. And today I'm here with a lovely young lady named Kari Baxter. Kari wrote in volume number 4. So this is Women Like Me, and it's breaking through the silence. And she has a fabulous story in here we're going to dive into in a few minutes. But I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Carrie. So Carrie's story is in the book. It's chapter 4. And her title is My Life's Journey. And her subtitle is Recovering from Drug Addiction. So Carrie was born in Prince George, British Columbia in Canada. Now, I can't pronounce. It's the traditional lands of. Do you know how to pronounce the name?
No.
I don't either. But I'm gonna just throw it out there, and maybe somebody will correct me. In the traditional lands of the Lheidli First Nations, and what I really love about it, it's the name means people where the rivers come together. I just thought that was so pretty. So after her birth, they moved to her father's First Nation community in a remote area of Telegraph Creek. And during that time, Carrie's mother and father did separate. She was, so from the age of about 10 to 15, Carrie was bouncing back and forth as kids do, and experiencing some abuse and living in chaos. Carrie then moved at 15 years old to Vernon, which is a lovely little city. If no one's ever been there, Vernon is fabulous. It's beautiful there. And it's there where she put down roots. Carrie's the mother of 2 children, a sweet little boy and a lovely little girl. And the love for Carrie's children is what caused her to dig in and do the work to turn her life around. And that's precisely what this young lady did. So thank you, Carrie, for writing in the book. And thank you so much for being willing to come on and talk about your story with all of us.
Yeah.
So Carrie, let's start off with my usual question to all the ladies. So why did you want to write your story?
It was a really amazing opportunity, and I know for myself, like growing up, I wasn't allowed to, talk about the things that I was going through and stuff, right? And it was an opportunity for me to share like about the abusive relationships and stuff that I had gone through, and the traumatic experience of me being stabbed, which like was the straw that broke my back, right? Like I turned to drugs to comfort me and to, quiet my mind because my mind was really spinning. I couldn't calm down. I kept replaying the events over and over again in my mind, and I needed something to take that away, right? And
Right.
and the first time I picked up my drug of choice, like I thought I had found that cure of comfort, and I finally felt at peace for like the first time in a long time. Um, and then it just kind of went downhill from there, right?
Yeah.
Like I became somebody that I wasn't, and I did anything and everything to get my next fix so I didn't have to feel those feelings inside of myself.
Yeah.
And I just want people to know that there is a way out, and if my story can reach at least even just one person, and they're able to come forward and speak about the things that they're going through,
Yeah.
then that's amazing, right? I was really ashamed of the things that I went through, even the things that weren't my fault.
Right.
I didn't know how to speak about them. I kept them locked up inside, and it just caused more damage than good.
Yeah.
um, I caused not only myself, but everybody around me harm. I was so anybody that came near me, I just completely destroyed them. And
Well,
it's
I know that your story is 100% going to help people. I know it. I know it. It's you've been very open, very very forthcoming in your story, and I know for sure that that you've helped people by writing it. Can I just ask you something about your story? I wanted to just, maybe you could elaborate a little bit on what had happened. I'm going to read the first paragraph of your chapter, which I think is just mind-blowing in the terms of where your story starts. And you say, I sat there, leaning up against the wishing well, calmly waiting for my mom to answer her phone. After a few rings, I heard my mom's voice. Hello, I replied. Mom, you need to meet me at the hospital. I got stabbed. I could hear the phone hit the floor. So what was happening? What happened to you that you ended up being stabbed? That's quite a traumatic event.
Yeah, it's still like a little bit of a, so I think it's been like 11 years and the anniversary of my stabbing actually just passed. It's still like a little bit touchy for me, but so like I was a teenager and I was experimenting and stuff, and I started dating this girl, and that was before I really started getting into a lot of trouble. And she was doing things that I just wasn't comfortable with,
Yeah,
like illegal activities and stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I had ended things. I had left town to go visit my dad for a bit. And when I came back, I guess she was telling people that she was just talking a lot of stuff about me and saying that when she seen me, she was going to fight me. So I ended
Oh,
up with some friends and having like a few drinks and stuff. And of course, I got a little bit confrontational, and somebody had told me that she was over by the wishing well. So I went and confronted her. And yeah, she ended up pulling a knife on me. And, it was really crappy. I had two friends with me, and,
wow.
shock. So they watched me get stabbed. And, like, thankfully, they were there. And, I never found out who the people were there that also helped me, but I'm like extremely grateful for them. But yeah,
Was
know,
she charged, Carrie?
yeah, she ended up doing 6 months in a juvie center, and then she ended up having to do a like a treat like go to a treatment center after that because she was using and stuff, right? And she had some like
Yeah,
mental illness stuff going on. So it was pretty easy for me to forgive her. I think the thing that tore me up the most wasn't the events that happened that day, but it was the effects that it had on my family.
right.
You know, I seen my dad cry, I think for like the second time in my life. And that was like, I could tell that he was really hurting, right? Because back then, he wasn't really able to show any emotion, it seemed like.
Yeah,
And, my mom was just a mess. And then, I have a really strong relationship with my siblings, and them seeing me like that it was really hard, right? I could tell that it affected my family, like, in a
yeah,
really negative way. And so I put on a mask to, like, and pretended like I was okay when I wasn't,
yes.
to make them feel more okay.
Yeah,
Um, I was offered like help, like counseling, like for my trauma and stuff. And I just kept saying, oh no, like I'm fine, like I'll
mm,
be okay, like I forgive her.
yeah,
Um, but it just ended up causing, like I said, like I caused myself and my family so much more harm doing that instead of
yes.
just the help and admitting that I wasn't okay.
Yeah. Oh, so when I read a little bit through further with your story, um, it's you right here. I pulled away from my family. I tried to hide the fact that I was getting high. I began to lie to them often, and before I knew it, I was stealing from them too. I was skipping my probation appointments, which soon landed me in the juvie detention. When I was released, I stayed clean for a short while, but I was back to chasing the dragon before I knew it. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was a full-blown addict at the age of 17. I was court ordered to a treatment program. So how do you get to be a full-blown addict at the young age of 17?
I guess like I said, not dealing with like the trauma and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
first time that I picked up my DOC, like
What's
I
a
don't
DOC?
drug of choice.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
Um, it just suppressed my feelings. Like I didn't have to feel anymore, and it was just so much easier for me to use and not feel. At the time, that's what I believed. Than it was to like face what was going on, because it wasn't the drugs that I had a problem with, it was me, because I didn't know how to deal with that internal stuff that was going on. So I thought that I had found an easier way by picking up drugs, but in the end it completely destroyed my life. It destroyed my family's lives. Like anybody, like I said, anybody that came near me, right? Like I was a tornado. Like I just crashed through people's lives and I caused harm.
So what happened? So what happened to get you to the place where you wanted to become sober? Because you say in June 2019 I was arrested for the last time, and that's when I decided to sober up. So what was happening to you to cause that?
So I have had several encounters with the police. I have been to juvie and jail more than a few times. For me, it was the broken promises. Like, when I would make those promises in that moment, I really meant it, like to my family and to my kids. I would tell my kids, like, mommy's going to get better. Like, I'm going to come home. And, I didn't want to tell them that I was in jail. So I was like, mommy's in a timeout, because I didn't want to listen to grandma and grandpa.
Right.
And, it was just in the moment when I would make those promises that I was going to get better, and that was the last time, I really truly meant it. But the second that I got released, that urge to go and pick up was like stronger than anything. Like as much as I felt that I didn't want to do it, like the first place I would go was to go and pick up. And, sometimes I would do good for a little bit, but then, like I wasn't really dealing with anything. Um, so I would just go and use.
Right.
So I had been arrested in December before that June. And I had again made a bunch of promises that I didn't keep. So when I got arrested in June, it was a lot worse than the other times. I ended up assaulting some of the guards at the jail. I was really sick and I was cranky. They put me in segregation for 21 days, and my
Wow.
withdrawals were horrible. They ended up having to rush me to the hospital after a couple days because I was completely dehydrated and, I just wasn't in good shape. And when I finally started to feel better, because I was so overwhelmed with guilt and shame that I couldn't even pick up the phone to call my mom to let her know that I was okay and I was back in jail. So when I finally did get that courage to pick up the phone, I just told my mom, I'm not going to make any promises this time, but
Yeah.
I am looking into some treatment centers, but I'm not going to promise you that that this is the last time, because I don't know that for sure, right?
Right.
And I
Right.
didn't more broken promises. So, I put the work in. I asked somebody at the jail to provide me with some treatment centers and recovery houses that I could look into and apply for. And, I looked for something that was a year or longer, because I when I went to the youth treatment center, it was just a couple months, and that wasn't long enough for me. And I knew that if I really wanted to do well, I needed something that was going
Right.
to be longer.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
found a Heart House, and it was everything that I needed at that moment, right? There was
Right.
structure. The house manager and the counselor there were absolutely amazing. At first it's somebody that was a little like tougher with me, because I had the street and the jail mentality still, and
Yeah.
I was survival mode and kind of still like super passive aggressive and
Yeah.
cranky stuff. And when she was finally able to break through that part, she became more gentle with me, because then at that time that was what I needed, right?
Yeah. I'd love to share this paragraph that you wrote, because it's one of my favorite paragraphs that you wrote in your story. I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous and scared, because I was scared shitless. I had no idea what to expect. The fear of the unknown was overwhelming. When I got picked up from the jail by some of the staff from the recovery house, I felt relief. They were so kind and welcoming. And when I got to the house, the house manager said something to me that has stuck with me ever since. I will love you until you can love yourself. Oh my gosh, Carrie, every time I read that, I just get teary-eyed and I get shivers, because what a beautiful thing to say to someone.
Yeah.
And so was this the recovery house where you got your help that you needed?
Yeah. And you know, I still get to go back and be a part of the house. I still, you know, get to the house manager. She doesn't work there anymore, but she's still a huge part of my life. Like, she's always got her phone on. Like, if I need her, I can phone her.
That's
She's still,
wonderful.
you know, she's been to every single one of my cakes. Like, she comes out and supports me. Um, you know, I truly believe that she's always going to be a huge part of my life. You know, even when she's going through her own stuff, she's never turned her back towards me, like when I've needed, you know, some kind of guidance or advice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just been a huge, huge part of my life. And you know, counselor at the house, like if I ever, you know, just need somewhere to go and, you know, like dump my life problems on her, you know, she's there with open arms and she listens, you know, without judgment, and, you know, offers me the best advice possible, right? And that's it, you know, at the end of the day, it's up to me if I want to take it or not. And, you know,
Yes.
most of the time I do, because I don't want to end up back where, you know, where I had to drag myself out of, because it was dark and it was.
Yes. You say in the book, in your story as well, that you actually OD'd several times.
I did.
Yeah, that must have been really terrifying.
Yeah, and you know, the first time I was out for quite some time, and my lips were still blue when I came to.
Wow.
You know, it's really sad that every time you know, the first time, the people that was with, they were like, "Hey, like whatever you have left, you know, we're taking it. Like, it's not safe for you to use." And I was like, "Oh, I did it all," and but I had the rest of it tucked inside my bra, right? And I was in a recovery house that time in Alberta, and I went back to the recovery house knowing that I just overdosed and used alone in my room. And I passed out and I came to, and I didn't remember that I had, you know, fell asleep. And it's like the power of addiction, super scary, right? Like, I knew that if I used again, especially by myself, that I might not wake up, but I continued to anyways.
Yeah.
And every time I overdosed and I came to, the first thing that I was thinking of was getting high again.
Wow. Wow. Well, I'm so glad you're here. I mean, yeah, you're such a sweet person, intelligent, caring, and the world needs you. You know, it's it's a rough road that you've gone on, but you've come out of it, and I know that you're stronger for it, and that's what's important. So you've actually um uh if you actually say in here, I have freedom today, I no longer run away.
Yeah, you know, as uncomfortable as it is, you know, sometimes I'll use sleep a little bit. Like, if I'm going through a lot at once, like I find that I will sleep more than usual.
Yeah.
Um, but I always like get up and I do face my stuff, as uncomfortable and as painful as it is sometimes. Like, I just know that it's better to just face things and
Yes.
through it than it is to just bottle it up, because that's never worked for me before. And like I said, right, like I fought really hard to get to where I am today, and I just don't want to slide backwards.
No, no. I think a lot of people, men and women, we do tend to bottle things up. We tend to stuff it all in there, and eventually it comes out, and it affects us in certainly in negative ways as we're growing up, or even, you know, relationship wise. I mean, not everybody turns to drugs or alcohol, but there's gambling and there's relationships and lots of other things that people people will gravitate towards to try to avoid dealing with it, whatever it is that they need to deal with. So do you find then, Carrie, that because I think a lot of people get quite fearful of dealing with either shame or guilt or all those things, but I'm assuming for you, it's easier, you find now it's easier to deal with those things than to live that destructive life that you were living.
Absolutely. Like at first, it was really hard for me, right? Because I didn't know how to do those things. I didn't know how to process my feelings around things. I didn't know how to work through things. I didn't know how to talk about things. When I first got to the house, I wouldn't even cry in front of people. Like I would throw my hood on and I would put my head down and I had such bad anxiety. I would play with the strings on my hoodie. And the house manager, we were in group one day and, some stuff came up for me and I started crying a little bit, but I hid under my hoodie and she pulled my hoodie off and she's like, you don't need to hide here. You're safe here, and that was really comforting for me. Just knowing that like I didn't have to hide anymore and I didn't have to, I'm allowed to express my emotions today. And, even if some people are uncomfortable by it, like that's not my stuff, like if I'm feeling some type of way, like I'm going to express that. It's scary in the beginning, learning how to do these things. It's terrifying, especially, if all you've known was to bottle things up or, people didn't want to listen to you before, or, your problems didn't matter to some people, you didn't have a safe go, right? Like it's terrifying breaking that cycle and like learning how to open up. But once you've done it for a while and you learn that it is okay, it's a lot easier today for me to just express how I'm feeling. And like, I allow myself to feel my feelings as uncomfortable as it is. And then I just like, I process it and I let it go, right? Because there's no point of me holding on to something that's just hurting me.
Yes.
But I do need to allow myself to go through those feelings and stuff before I, like I let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to read another little tiny paragraph of your book because I again love this part of it. I do not regret anything that I have gone through in my life because I am the woman I am today because of those experiences. I get to share my experiences with others today and help them. I am not a victim of the abuse I went through. I am a survivor and I am also a survivor of my addiction. And to me, when I read that, I think, wow, what growth. That's really getting to that place of acceptance. Yeah. So what would you say, Carrie? This is kind of a bit of a loaded question but what would you say, we're going through, you're in British Columbia and we're going through some bad stuff with people on the streets and drug overdoses and so many people dying of overdoses. What would you say? Like, what do you think? Like, people seem to be at a loss of what to do. What do you think we could do to help people?
In like my honest opinion, so I work in harm reduction. I absolutely love my job. I love the connections and stuff that I have with the guests and the community members that come in. I personally just don't feel like there's actually enough help like in the recovery sense of things. We have a lot of buildings downtown that offer like, we have safe using sites, we have places where people can come in and get food, or I work in a shelter and we hand out free harm reduction. But when we have people like guests that come through and they choose to go to detox, well, they go to detox, well, they're on a wait list for a while, they go to detox, and then they end up coming back to our shelter because there's no space for them to go to a treatment center or a recovery house.
Right. Right.
I feel like it's just like a cycle of like people just like we don't have enough resources for them.
So you feel then with your experience, because you've lived it and now you're helping other people who are trying to get out of that cycle. So more resources, more places for people to so I guess what it would be is when they make that decision to get help, they need to go get help.
Yeah.
Because if they're left, they just slide back in and then the roller coaster starts again. Is that kind of what you think?
Yeah, it's like I know for me, like if I wasn't able to make that choice right away and I got out of jail and I was just left back on the streets, I probably might not be where I am today. Um, and I, like I said, I've seen people go to detox and then they come back to our shelter because there wasn't something open for them to go to. And just even like, you know, I know I know for me, like I was judged a lot in my addiction. People seen me and they just seen a junkie, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so the few people that actually stopped and took the time to talk to me and like, seen me as an actual human being, that meant a lot to me. And, even to this day, like I get memories and like I think about the people who stopped and took time to, just talk to me and ask me how my day was, or, like throw me a smile or, whatever it was. Like I still think about those people today because, like people, not everybody, but like, addicts are judged. And I get it. We don't make the best decisions and stuff when we're loaded and stuff, but we're still human beings. And it's just really crappy. Like I've overheard people like say things about the downtown east side and stuff, and it's just like it's really sad. Those are people too. It's just they got dealt a really crappy hand, and and they don't see any other way out, or they don't feel worthy
Yes.
of like a better. I felt that way too for so many years. Like I didn't feel like worthy of living a better life. Like I just felt like I deserved to be on the streets for the rest of my life, killing myself slowly with drugs. Like I didn't feel like I was better than any of that. And
Yeah.
you know um I really try to take time to speak with like guests and stuff at my job, and when community members come in and stuff, I really, I ask them how their day was, or first thing in the morning, because I work nights, right? So I'm there first thing in the morning when they come out of the rooms, I'm like bright smile, I'm like good morning sunshine, like and
Yeah.
just really try to make them feel seen for like the person that they are and not the choices that they've made,
Right.
because also been there and I know what that feels like. It's just being more compassionate to people, and not looking down on them.
Yeah.
Some of us were just dealt crappier hands than others, and I know that we have a choice, but some of us just get stuck in that cycle because, like I said earlier, right? Like drugs make us feel better. Like we don't have to
Yes.
feel that we're going
Yeah. Well, we all have a choice, and that's 100, and you're 100% right. But but not all. I mean, some things are easier to hide,
through.
right? And so the gambling addict who's spending their family's grocery money at the casino can kind of hide that a little easier than this person who's addicted on the streets. And so I always find that everybody's got closets where skeletons hide, and depending on your where you are and what you do for a living and what your issues are, sometimes they're easier to hide. That's what I think. So a lot of the people who were making those judgments, they have stuff going on. There's nobody that doesn't have stuff going on, right? So it's just, I understand what you're saying. It's completely unfair. And I agree with you. I think we need a lot more resources, because when that person says, okay, I need help, I'm going to go do it. If they don't get taken then, who knows when they go? And of course they're going to slide back again. It's just it's yeah, it's they need help. they need help. And I'm so happy to know that you were able to get yourself out of where you were, and you had some wonderful people helping you. So what are you doing now again? Do you want to tell us again? You sort of touched on it briefly.
I am a shelter resource worker. I work at a shelter downtown. I work for a Lookout Society. Um, we offer as much as we can there, right? I work with some amazing people. The day staff, the caseworkers and stuff really, they do a lot with like helping people find housing and or if they want to go to detox and stuff, right? Like they
Yeah.
really help find those resources and stuff. I work night shift, so I just kind of like get to hang out with like the night owls and stuff,
Yeah.
community members that come in and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's nice because if somebody comes in and they need like somebody to talk to one-on-one, a lot of the times I do have that time because it's way more relaxed at night. Some
Yeah.
people sleeping and stuff, and so I get to have that, that time to talk to somebody if they're struggling with something, and I think the hardest part of my job is, building connections and then losing people to like overdoses and stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes I have a really hard time not bringing my work home with me. Um,
Uh-huh.
I'm still learning how to, leave my work life at work.
Yes. I imagine that would be very difficult.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
definitely, um, but I love my job.
I'm
I love
glad.
that I get to, if people are comfortable with me, then I get to be that support for them,
Yeah. So, so tell me just before we wrap it up, um, a little bit about your kids and your mom and dad. I remember you took a picture of your dad holding your book. I love that. I think I have it somewhere on my computer. I just love that picture. So how are things going? Everything going, I'm assuming, much better.
Absolutely. So, I have two dads. I have my stepdad that my mom been married to for a while now, and biological father. So my biological father and I, we kind of had like a rockier relationship, like when I was growing up. We've both kind of gotten on the journey of healing and stuff, and it's been absolutely amazing. Like you know, I have my dad in my life now. Like, often I speak to him more often, and he was actually just down here, and he got to stay with me and stuff, which was super
Oh,
nice.
yeah.
Just watching his growth over the last couple of years has been like super inspiring. And just the man that he is today, like I am super proud to call him my dad. Um, you know, and my mom's doing really good too. They just got a house, and there's a lot more room for them and for the kids and
Yeah.
stuff. So her and my stepdad are doing really good. I have a really good relationship with them as well, and my kids are just super grown up, and yeah, my son is super hyper and all over the place, and my daughter,
Boys, right?
yeah, absolutely. And my daughter's just the complete opposite. She's super calm, and she's just like the sweetest little girl ever, and they are definitely like, I think one of the best gifts that I got from, we get gifts of recovery, right? When we come into the program and we work the program and stuff, and my family back in my life. Not that they ever left me, but they had to step aside for a while, right? And so whenever I want to, I can pick up the phone and I can call them. When I'm able to take time off work, I get to go home and visit them and stuff. And when they come down here, like I am in a place where they can come and stay with me and spend time with me and stuff. Like even my brothers that I had lost touch with for a while, they come down here quite often, and I get to spend time with them. Like it's been absolutely like amazing, like seeing my family like grow too as well, right? Like
Yeah.
cool. um, yeah, like our relationships have grown a lot stronger and stuff, and whenever anything, whether it's tough or exciting going on in my life, like I pick up the phone and like I tell them about whatever exciting news is happening, or if I'm going through some things, like I know that I can reach out to them and talk to them about what's going on and stuff without judgment, right? And yeah, like it's just been super amazing having you back in my life.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm so happy to hear that things are going well for you and you sound like you're happy, and I'm glad that the kids are doing well. Um, and I'm just so appreciative of you that you chose to write in Women Like Me. And I thank you for doing that. And of course, for coming here and intimately sharing your life and your struggles, but how you've overcome and how you're doing today. So is there anything you want to say to the world before we go?
If you're struggling, reach out, right? Fear of the unknown, it's always scary, but like just take that first step, right? And
Yeah,
there's always somebody willing to listen or like help you. It's always just those first steps that are a little bit scary, but you can always overcome your fears.
yeah. Well, thank you for that, Carrie. That was well said. So if you want to read Carrie's full story, this is the book she's in. It's Women Like Me, Breaking Through the Silence. And this is volume 4 of our book series. So now when we're done, I'm going to put all of Carrie's bio is going to go in the comment section or the description, and Carrie does have an email address in there. Do you have that, Carrie? I think you
Yep.
do. Yeah, so Carrie's got an email address. So if somebody wanted to reach out, it has questions for Carrie. Her email address will be there as well. So once again, Carrie, thank you so much. Thank you for doing this, hun, and I'm so glad that things are going well for you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So you're very welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.